Jane practiced daily for her fluency in English. Jane engaged in daily practice to attain proficiency in English. The members consented to appoint him as the chairperson. The members agreed to designate him as the chairperson. I have acrophobia, so I am terrified of heights. I suffer from acrophobia, which makes me fear heights. The little prince was qualified as the successor to the king. The little prince was recognized as the rightful heir to the throne. The retired doctor volunteered at a rural hospital. The retired physician offered his services at a rural hospital. The allocation of the apartment management fee has slightly increased. The distribution of the apartment management fee has experienced a slight rise. You should bring your respective partners to the party. You are encouraged to bring your respective companions to the gathering. If a problem arises, it's faster to ask an expert. If an issue arises, consulting an expert is the quicker course of action. Don't bleach this black t-shirt. Avoid bleaching this black t-shirt. I went to the stationery store to buy paper and pens. I visited the stationery store to purchase paper and pens. This herb has a potent anesthetic effect. This herb has a powerful sedative effect. He is paying off the mortgage he took out on his house every month. He is systematically repaying the mortgage he obtained for his house every month. He stopped his ongoing work and helped us. He paused his ongoing work to assist us. My friend enlightened me on the math problems after school. My friend clarified the math problems for me after school. Harry slipped out of the room wearing an invisible cloak. Harry quietly exited the room, draped in an invisible cloak. The astronomer exulted upon discovering a new star. The astronomer rejoiced upon uncovering a new star. I filled the car with unleaded gasoline. I refueled the car with unleaded fuel. He disconnected the peripheral devices connected to the computer. He detached the peripheral devices from the computer. The reporter's impromptu question embarrassed the spokesperson. The reporter's off-the-cuff question embarrassed the spokesperson. The reservoir holds 100 million tons of water. The reservoir can store 100 million tons of water. Blood gushed from the artery of the self-harm patient. Blood poured from the artery of the self-inflicted injury patient. He was often late, perhaps because he had no concept of time. He was frequently tardy, possibly due to his lack of time management skills. This book had more quotations than the author's own words. This book contained more citations than the author's own words. The kidnapper wanted to negotiate with the police. The abductor sought to negotiate with the authorities. He was fired for his severe inaction at work. He was dismissed due to his significant lack of action at work. I had to pay a fine for a speed violation. I had to pay a penalty for violating the speed limit. He gained retailing experience working at his father's store. He acquired retail experience while working at his father's shop. Suddenly, hail fell on my car in the middle of summer. Unexpectedly, hail pelted my car in the midst of summer. Blood constantly circulates through the body. Blood continually flows through the body. This amount of money should suffice to buy a house. This sum of money should be adequate to purchase a house. I chose conspicuous colors for my hiking clothes. I selected bright colors for my hiking attire. He dresses to express his individuality. He dresses to showcase his unique identity. The torturer got a spurious confession from the suspect. The torturer obtained a fabricated confession from the suspect. Sometimes an active counterattack is needed rather than a passive defense. Occasionally, an assertive counterattack is required rather than a passive defense. Observance of the speed limit is essential for safe driving. Adhering to the speed limit is crucial for safe driving. The company announced the production schedule for the month. The company disclosed the production timetable for the month. He is a pious believer who always attends worship services. He is a devout believer who consistently attends religious services. People are born with a mortal fate. People are born with a finite destiny. Relying too much on trade led to a loss of sovereignty in the economy. Over-reliance on trade resulted in a loss of economic sovereignty. The farmer reaped the well-ripened rice in the fall. The farmer harvested the fully ripened rice in the autumn. Australia has a temperate climate, ideal for outdoor activities. Australia enjoys a mild climate, perfect for outdoor pursuits. We hung decorations on the pine tree. We adorned the pine tree with decorations. I am suffering from asthma with a cough and cold. I am struggling with asthma, accompanied by a cough and cold. His explanation contained many self-contradictions. His explanation was riddled with contradictions. I thanked the innkeeper for his hospitality. I expressed gratitude to the innkeeper for his warm hospitality. You did your homework. Meanwhile, I was watching TV. You completed your homework, whereas I was watching TV. Everyone's life is a repetition of happiness and woe. Everyone's life is a cycle of joy and sorrow. The information I posted on the website was accessible to everyone. The information I uploaded to the website was available to all. She needed downtime after continued overtime. She required rest after working overtime consistently. His treasure ship story had no credence. His tale of the treasure ship lacked credibility. Exposure to air contaminated by radiation is dangerous. Exposure to air tainted by radiation is hazardous. A vague shape gradually appeared out of the mist. A blurred figure slowly emerged from the mist. Carbon dioxide emission is occurring from the car's exhaust. Carbon dioxide is being emitted from the car's exhaust. I cleared the blockage on the road and drove. I cleared the obstruction on the road and continued driving. Regular exercise can build hardy strength. Regular physical activity can develop robust strength. The politician worried about the political unconcerns of voters. The politician was concerned about the political apathy of voters. The salmon returned to the river to breed. The salmon swam back to the river to spawn. Parents' love for their children is an instinctive action. Parents' love for their children is a natural instinct. The tempest over 3 days completely ruined the crops. The storm lasting 3 days devastated the crops. The boxers scowled at each other before the match. The boxers glared at each other before the match. At the coastline, the ebb and flow alternate. At the coastline, the tides alternate between high and low. The manager implemented a customer-first oriented policy. The manager adopted a customer-centric policy. She felt misgiving upon receiving a letter from her hometown. She had a sense of unease upon receiving a letter from her hometown. The pickpocket snatched my handbag and ran away. The pickpocket grabbed my handbag and fled. The jury found the defendant guilty on some charges. The jury deemed the defendant guilty on several charges. Chopper was so hungry that he munched on a hamburger. Chopper was so famished that he devoured a hamburger. The bar overcharged me while I was drunk. The bar inflated the charges while I was intoxicated. I enjoy studying geometry, which involves lines and points. I take pleasure in studying geometry, which deals with lines and points. Believing there was a treasure ship was a ludicrous thought. Believing in the existence of a treasure ship was an absurd notion. Our gallant soldiers won the war. Our brave soldiers triumphed in the war. Everyone has their own creed. Everyone has their own beliefs. This year's deficit is the result of poor management. This year's deficit is a consequence of ineffective management. I bought 10 reference books to study math. I purchased 10 reference books to study mathematics. The scientist researched aquaculture without soil. The scientist studied soil-free aquaculture. He agreed with my opinion without any hesitancy. He concurred with my opinion without any reluctance. The number of migrants from Busan to Seoul has decreased. The number of migrants moving from Busan to Seoul has diminished. My plane will depart at the scheduled time. My flight will take off at the designated time. Senior year students experience strain while studying. Senior year students undergo stress while studying. She made and sold accessories at the market stall. She crafted and sold accessories at the market booth. Monarchy is a form of government ruled by a king. Monarchy is a system of government headed by a king. The readership of major newspapers has remained unchanged for several years. The readership of major newspapers has stayed steady for several years. I enjoy studying chemistry, which is about the properties of materials. I take pleasure in studying chemistry, which focuses on the properties of substances. I was completely desperate due to the succession of failures. I was utterly hopeless due to the series of failures. A country's constitution is the foundation of all laws. A nation's constitution is the cornerstone of all legal systems. Excessive drinking has a detrimental effect on the body. Excessive drinking has harmful consequences for the body. It was revealed that he was a spy and his life was in jeopardy. It was disclosed that he was a spy and his life was at risk. We misjudged the personality of the new member, which was a prejudice. We misinterpreted the new member's character, which was a bias. What appeared to be a ghost was an optical illusion caused by the light. What seemed to be a ghost was an optical illusion created by the light. I was so focused on studying that I couldn't perceive who came. I was so absorbed in my studies that I didn't notice who arrived. The cicada makes loud sounds from trees in the summer. The cicada produces loud sounds from trees during the summer. My jest was so boring that no one laughed. My joke was so dull that no one laughed. During the summer, there is a mass exodus to the beaches. During the summer, there is a mass migration to the beaches. Her occupation is a nurse working at the hospital. Her profession is a nurse working at the hospital. I synchronized the sound and video with the program. I coordinated the sound and video with the program. Sandy is a beneficent person who helps the poor. Sandy is a compassionate person who assists the less fortunate. He is the longest living inhabitant of this village. He is the oldest living resident of this village. Before the class, I sharpened my pencil with the pencil sharpener. Before class, I honed my pencil with the sharpener. That sign indicates a sharp curve ahead. That sign warns of a sharp bend ahead. Don't cram your thoughts into mine. Don't force your ideas into mine. I believe in a peaceful unification soon. I believe in the imminent peaceful reunification. Picasso is a representative artist of abstraction in painting. Picasso is a prominent figure in abstract art. The firefighters prevented the fire from spreading further. The firefighters stopped the fire from advancing. Do not place explosive substances near the stove. Do not store explosive materials near the stove. An impartial judge delivered a verdict that everyone acknowledged. An unbiased judge rendered a decision that everyone accepted. To succeed, one must take the perils of entering the tiger's den. To succeed, one must face the dangers of entering the tiger's lair. The priest made an invocation to God for the refugees. The priest offered a prayer to God on behalf of the refugees. The relic of an ancient Egyptian king was discovered in the desert. The artifact of an ancient Egyptian monarch was uncovered in the desert. Winnie the Pooh underwent an adaptation period in the wild. Winnie the Pooh went through an adjustment period in the wilderness. An expedition member in the Arctic discovered penguins. An expedition member in the Arctic encountered penguins. I conveyed my rejection of her proposal. I communicated my refusal of her proposal. She revised the incorrect parts of the document and submitted it. She corrected the errors in the document and handed it in. In the Middle Ages, people believed that witches spread plague. During the Middle Ages, it was believed that witches spread disease. The drunkard went to sleep sober last night. The drunkard fell asleep sober last night. I cannot do what I want due to time constraints. I am unable to do what I want due to time limitations. The teacher imparted her knowledge to the students. The teacher shared her wisdom with the students. The salad I made last week smelled decayed. The salad I prepared last week had a spoiled odor. Frankie urged his friend to return home. Frankie persuaded his friend to go back home. She placed decorative flowers all over the house. She scattered decorative flowers throughout the house. The persistent pain caused the patient to experience irritability. The ongoing pain made the patient feel irritable. As soon as I opened the door, a frigid air rushed into the room. As soon as I opened the door, a cold breeze swept into the room. Jessie received a 3-year warranty when she bought the TV. Jessie was provided with a 3-year warranty when purchasing the TV. You should use stainless steel knives in the kitchen for hygiene. For hygiene, stainless steel knives should be used in the kitchen. Only 5 residents reside in this village. Only 5 inhabitants live in this village. Congratulations on your initiation into the world of Go. Congratulations on your entry into the world of Go. He, filled with vanity, spent money recklessly. Filled with vanity, he spent money without restraint. She is a veteran veterinarian when it comes to handling pets. She is an experienced veterinarian when it comes to caring for pets. The 2 friends don't speak to each other because of their hostile relationship. The 2 friends are not speaking due to their antagonistic relationship. Children feel secure when they are with their parents. Children feel safe when they are with their parents. Taking a bath in hot water helps to rejuvenate the body. Taking a bath in hot water helps to revitalize the body. The elementary school students bartered game cards at the Saturday market. The elementary school students traded game cards at the Saturday market. She goes to the temple every Sunday and meditates. She visits the temple every Sunday and meditates. I cannot quantify my love for her. I cannot measure my love for her. Brolin's theory was far-fetched, but it was a probable one. Brolin's theory was implausible, but it was conceivable. The heated rice cooker released vapor. The heated rice cooker emitted steam. The mole was hiding deep in the ground, having burrowed there. The mole was concealed deep underground, having burrowed there. The archaeologist deciphered the inscription on the stone. The archaeologist decoded the inscription on the stone. After getting into the school I wanted, I felt exhilaration. After entering the school I desired, I felt elation. If you're indolent while studying, your grades will inevitably be poor. If you're lazy while studying, your grades will inevitably suffer. Microsoft is monopolizing the PC operating system market. Microsoft is dominating the PC operating system market. Zorro was a prominent new employee at his company. Zorro was a standout new employee at his company. He had no idea about the significance of this decision. He had no understanding of the importance of this decision. The customer generously tipped the waiter. The customer gave the waiter a generous tip. In this accident, the jaywalker was also held accountable. In this incident, the jaywalker was also held responsible. I think I misconstrued her gift. I believe I misunderstood her gift. Aesop earned astronomical amounts of money through trade. Aesop accumulated vast sums of money through trade. The rumor that he will be promoted is doubtless true. The rumor that he will be promoted is undoubtedly true. Her bracelet was made in an elaborate design. Her bracelet was crafted with an intricate design. Saudi Arabia is one of the most restrictive countries. Saudi Arabia is one of the most regulated countries. The politician incited the populace and caused a riot. The politician stirred up the public and triggered a riot. In the competition, only the confident person can win. In the competition, only a self-assured person can succeed. Car design seems to be a glamorous profession. Car design appears to be a prestigious career. He smoothed the coarse floor with sandpaper. He polished the rough floor with sandpaper. The movie had too many vulgar words from the actors. The movie included too many coarse words from the actors. Well-done makeup helped bolster her confidence. The carefully done makeup boosted her confidence. I once misunderstood what my friend said. I once misinterpreted what my friend said. He quickly picked up on the perception of the indoor atmosphere change. He quickly noticed the shift in the indoor atmosphere. She has amazing dexterity when she sings. She has incredible skill when she sings. Go requires a very intellectual ability. Go demands a highly intellectual capacity. The scammer does not feel any conscience when deceiving others. The scammer has no remorse when deceiving others. If we work together, we can cope with this situation. If we collaborate, we can handle this situation. I wrote a treatise diligently for my doctoral degree. I wrote a thesis diligently for my doctoral degree. Mozart is a world-renowned eminent composer. Mozart is a globally acclaimed and distinguished composer. The airplane was severely jolted by a gust of wind. The airplane was violently shaken by a gust of wind. The technician cleaned the computer with compressed air. The technician used compressed air to clean the computer. Missionaries civilized the indigenous people of Africa. Missionaries brought civilization to the indigenous people of Africa. She solved the problem using a mathematical formula. She resolved the issue using a mathematical equation. Robin soaked the beef in cold water for 1 hour. Robin marinated the beef in cold water for 1 hour. The company occupies a dominant position in the market. The company holds a leading position in the market. Haze occurs in the atmosphere due to smoke or dust. Haze forms in the atmosphere due to smoke or dust. I put the vegetables in the fridge to maintain their freshness. I placed the vegetables in the fridge to preserve their freshness. The actor received great publicity for his charitable work. The actor gained significant attention for his charitable work. It is said that equatorial regions are turning into deserts. It is said that equatorial regions are becoming deserts. She always wore her hat slightly tilted. She always wore her hat with a slight tilt. The office relocation costs turned out to be more than expected. The office relocation expenses turned out to be higher than expected. I had a consultation with my lawyer about the lawsuit. I had a discussion with my lawyer about the lawsuit. Brooke saved a lot through her frugal lifestyle. Brooke saved a great deal through her frugal lifestyle. Due to the development of artificial intelligence, upheaval is occurring in the world. Due to the growth of artificial intelligence, upheaval is taking place worldwide. The final exam was really demanding for me. The final exam was extremely challenging for me. An accident occurred at the intersection involving 3 cars in a collision. An accident occurred at the intersection involving a collision between 3 cars. The manufacturer compensated me for the breakdown of my car. The manufacturer reimbursed me for the breakdown of my car. The sunburst was so blinding that I couldn't open my eyes properly. The brilliance of the sunburst was so intense that I could scarcely open my eyes. As my conjecture predicted, the Korean football team easily won the championship. As I had surmised, the Korean football team triumphed effortlessly in the championship. He studied the composition of soil during geology class. He scrutinized the composition of soil during his geology class. Economic privation leads to crimes such as theft. Economic deprivation often precipitates criminal activities such as theft. This new drug has undesirable side effects. This new medication produces adverse side effects. I submitted the certification confirming the completion of the course. I submitted the certificate affirming the completion of the course. As midday arrived in the summer, the intensity of the heat increased. As noon approached during the summer, the sweltering heat intensified. I scratched my scalp due to itchiness, and my hair began to fall out. I scratched my scalp because of the irritation, and my hair started thinning. I would characterize that movie as a boring one. I would describe that film as tedious and uneventful. The marathon runner was breathless after running 10 kilometers. The marathon runner was panting heavily after completing 10 kilometers. The computer I bought comes with a guarantee of 2 years. The computer I purchased comes with a 2-year warranty. Zingbi's house was the modest size for a family of 5. Zingbi's house was of a modest size, appropriate for a family of 5. When in need, an economical car is the best choice. In times of need, an economical vehicle is the wisest choice. She slightly tilted the picture frame and hung it on the wall. She gently tilted the picture frame and hung it on the wall. He suspended the light fixture from the ceiling. He hung the light fixture from the ceiling. When running, I wore the most lightweight clothing possible. While running, I wore the lightest attire possible. I majored in botany, studying the life of plants. I specialized in botany, focusing on plant life. He uses the initials of his name to make signatures. He uses his initials to create signatures. The subway has many vents to ensure fresh air. The subway system is equipped with numerous vents to ensure fresh air circulation. The heritage of the Native Americans has been preserved by their descendants. The cultural heritage of Native Americans has been safeguarded by their descendants. The poet wrote an elegy after sending his lover away. The poet composed a sorrowful elegy following the departure of his beloved. He became a bondholder by investing in the company's bonds. He acquired the status of a bondholder through his investment in the company's bonds. The timely arrival of the police prevented the fight. The swift and punctual arrival of the police averted the conflict. He ate meat without cooking it, like a barbarian. He consumed raw meat without preparing it, resembling the habits of a barbarian. It took her a mere 10 minutes to finish the homework. She completed the homework in no more than a mere 10 minutes. He traced the map on tracing paper and drew it exactly. He meticulously traced the map onto tracing paper and reproduced it with precision. I took responsibility for my family's livelihood by selling gimbap. I assumed the duty of providing for my family's livelihood by selling gimbap. He applied for a new phone and told me to use my phone in the meantime. He submitted an application for a new phone and instructed me to use mine in the interim. We visited the ancestral tomb during Chuseok and performed the ritual. We paid a visit to the ancestral tomb during Chuseok and conducted the traditional ritual. No excuse can justify your mistake. No justification. however elaborate, can excuse your error. The advancement in medicine has led to the extension of life. The progress in medical science has contributed to the prolongation of human life. I am looking for an accommodation for 5 people to stay overnight. I am seeking accommodation to host 5 individuals for an overnight stay. She reviewed the budget as a member of the city council. She examined the budget in her capacity as a member of the city council. The Marine Corps was dispatched to rescue the prisoners. The Marine Corps was deployed to rescue the captives. Professors are discussing effective learning methodologies. The professors are deliberating on effective pedagogical strategies. The religious person preached to the non-believer on the street. The devout individual delivered a sermon to the non-believer on the street. She uses plain English, making it easy to understand. She employs straightforward English, ensuring clarity and ease of comprehension. He is known as the pioneer of the vaccine program. He is recognized as the trailblazer of the vaccine initiative. As the king gets older, it's time for him to choose an heir. As the king ages, the moment has come for him to select a successor. She was a passionate advocate of free trade. She was a fervent proponent of free trade, advocating for its expansion. A simple remedy for insomnia is labor. A straightforward solution for insomnia is engaging in physical labor. The twins next door look identical. The twins residing next door appear indistinguishable from each other. Keeping promises is imperative in building trust. Adhering to promises is crucial in establishing trust. She hid the blemish on her face by applying cream. She concealed the imperfection on her face by applying cream. The ghost emerged suddenly from the graveyard. The apparition materialized unexpectedly from the graveyard. She was wearing an untainted white dress. She was adorned in a pristine white dress. Edison is obviously a brilliant genius. Edison is undeniably a brilliant inventor and genius. Koreans live on the peninsula surrounded by sea on 3 sides. Koreans reside on a peninsula that is encircled by the sea on 3 sides. The suspect gave a precautious answer to the police's questions. The suspect provided a cautious response to the police's inquiries. I rebooted the computer to change its configuration. I restarted the computer to alter its configuration. He spent a considerable amount of money on clothes. He expended a significant sum of money on clothing. I quickly attached the broken eyeglass frame using adhesive. I swiftly affixed the broken eyeglass frame with adhesive. He wasn't a slavish supporter of the government's policies. He was not an unquestioning supporter of the government's policies. An exposition for baby products was held at COEX. A trade fair for baby products was conducted at COEX. She drank juice by diluting the concentrate with water. She consumed juice by diluting the concentrate with water. The Ministry of Environment banned the hunting of endangered animals. The Ministry of Environment prohibited the hunting of endangered species. The government greatly simplified the passport issuance procedure. The government significantly streamlined the passport issuance process. The front door is an automatic door that opens when someone approaches. The front door is an automatic entryway that opens as someone approaches. Wearing uniforms at school is a mandatory rule. Wearing uniforms at school is a compulsory regulation. Our company sends the freight to the buyer via air. Our company dispatches the freight to the purchaser by air transport. Korea has very low illiteracy rates. Korea boasts remarkably low rates of illiteracy. The volunteers allocated the emergency rations evenly. The volunteers distributed the emergency provisions in an equitable manner. When the dam broke, copious amounts of water poured out. When the dam ruptured, an overwhelming quantity of water spilled out. A donor donated food supplies to the charity. A benefactor contributed food supplies to the charitable organization. He is going through a transition from youth to adulthood. He is undergoing a transformation from adolescence to adulthood. We made haste to eat in time for the train schedule. We hurried to eat in time for the train departure. After the enemy's attack, the soldiers retrogressed. Following the enemy's assault, the soldiers retreated. He formed a team to work efficiently at the company. He assembled a team to operate effectively within the company. The university has an excellent faculty of law. The university boasts an outstanding law faculty. A lunatic suddenly ran in front of my car. A madman abruptly ran across the front of my car. He experienced the misfortune of losing his parents at a young age. He endured the misfortune of losing his parents at a tender age. The PD is looking for a venue for the National Singing Contest. The PD is searching for a venue to host the National Singing Contest. This enterprise is risky, but it also has great rewards. This venture carries risks, yet it offers substantial rewards. I believed he was lying based on my intuition. I trusted my intuition and believed he was deceiving me. She and I concur on many different opinions. She and I are in agreement on a wide range of matters. The actor became the target of public censure due to a slip of the tongue. The actor became the focus of public condemnation following a slip of the tongue. I withheld my support from friends who wanted to fight. I withheld my endorsement from those friends who sought conflict. These days, Vietnamese cuisine is very popular among Koreans. Currently, Vietnamese cuisine is highly favored by Koreans. I could scarcely recognize who he was. I could barely recognize who he was. Due to the terrorism incident, the exchange rate fluctuation was severe. Due to the terrorism incident, the fluctuation in the exchange rate was intense. The thief secretly crept over the neighbor's fence. The thief stealthily scaled the neighbor's fence. Because of the hot weather, my dog's ears drooped. Due to the scorching weather, my dog's ears sagged. She explained the theory in a way that was intelligible. She presented the theory in a manner that was clear and understandable. His liver began to show signs of stiffness due to alcohol. His liver began to exhibit signs of rigidity from excessive alcohol consumption. What you mentioned was an issue from the anterior part of the case. What you referred to was an issue pertaining to the earlier part of the case. I spent a while brooding over the advice she gave. I spent some time mulling over the advice she provided. She gave an impeccable speech in front of the public. She delivered a flawless speech before the public. A malevolent rumor spread that I was foolish. A malicious rumor circulated, claiming I was foolish. As a boss, his insolence created resentment among the staff. As a manager, his arrogance fostered resentment among the team. The teenage years are often referred to as a rebellious period. The adolescent years are frequently described as a time of rebellion. The diplomat was appointed as the ambassador to China. The diplomat was designated as the ambassador to China. Bill Gates is the founder of the IT company Microsoft. Bill Gates is the originator of the technology firm Microsoft. Before the match, he was urged not to be too uptight. Prior to the match, he was advised not to be overly tense. Despite my objections, he was completely impervious. Despite my protests, he remained entirely unaffected. The actor tried to remain aloof from the controversy. The actor attempted to distance himself from the controversy. My parents compelled me to study English. My parents insisted that I study English. The sudden death of my close friend was a lamentable event. The unexpected passing of my close friend was a tragic event. Her performance was met with applause from the audience. Her performance was greeted with enthusiastic applause from the audience. The prosecution conducted a cross-examination between the defendant and the plaintiff. The prosecution carried out a cross-examination between the defendant and the plaintiff. Thick, noxious smoke rose from the basement where the fire broke out. Dense, toxic smoke billowed from the basement where the fire erupted. I couldn't understand my friend's Jeju dialect. I was unable to comprehend my friend's Jeju dialect. The doctor performed surgery to remove the tumor in the stomach. The doctor carried out surgery to excise the tumor in the stomach. The government deployed the military to suppress the riot. The government stationed the military to quell the riot. She often eats dumplings, either steamed or fried. She frequently enjoys dumplings, either steamed or fried. The sound of rustling leaves in the fall is pleasant to hear. The sound of rustling leaves in autumn is soothing to the ear. I tried to sympathize with my friend who was hospitalized. I made an effort to empathize with my friend who was hospitalized. The name of the candidate shouted by supporters resonated. The name of the candidate shouted by supporters echoed through the air. Park Seri was an outstanding golfer from Korea. Park Seri was an exceptional golfer hailing from Korea. I don't trust him because of his volatile personality. I don't trust him due to his unpredictable temperament. An additional bar was installed transverse to the two pillars. A supplementary bar was installed perpendicular to the two pillars. In Korea, water is scarce, so we must use it sparingly. In Korea, water is limited, so it must be used prudently. The driver diverted the car to avoid an obstacle. The driver steered the car to circumvent an obstacle. The students learned about distorted and incorrect history. The students studied about distorted and inaccurate historical accounts. He ate the crisp toast with strawberry jam on it. He devoured the crisp toast with a layer of strawberry jam. The twins share many similarities. The twins possess numerous similarities. The company proved its reliability with past performance. The company demonstrated its reliability through previous performance. Her plan was merely a fanciful idea. Her plan was simply an imaginative idea. My jeans shrank after washing. My jeans contracted after washing. Thanks to his cheery personality, he gets along well with others. Thanks to his cheerful disposition, he interacts harmoniously with others. I cleaned my contact lenses with saline solution. I cleaned my contact lenses using a saline solution. The newly launched satellite entered Earth's orbit. The newly deployed satellite entered Earth's orbit. There is a clear distinction between her opinion and mine. There is an obvious difference between her viewpoint and mine. The company needs innovation to survive. The company requires innovation in order to thrive. High blood pressure can have hereditary causes. High blood pressure may have genetic origins. I received entrepreneurial support from the university through an undergraduate program. I received entrepreneurial assistance from the university via an undergraduate program. As autumn came, my mood was fluctuating throughout the day. As autumn approached, my mood was shifting throughout the day. The participants took turns giving brief self-introductions. The participants alternated giving short self-introductions. Simply put, the radius of a circle is half its diameter. In simple terms, the radius of a circle is half of its diameter. One Piece is one of the foremost animations. One Piece is one of the leading animations. She affronted the opposing candidate, calling them incompetent. She insulted the opposing candidate by calling them incompetent. He added a postscript at the end of the love letter. He included a postscript at the conclusion of the love letter. Modern technology was the greatest benefactor of our volleyball team. Modern technology served as the greatest benefactor to our volleyball team. The proverb, "the early bird catches the worm," is widely known. The saying, "the early bird catches the worm," is widely recognized. You should spend money in accordance with your situation. You should spend money according to your circumstances. I started selling agricultural products online. I began selling agricultural products via the internet. A vile, decaying smell filled the entire house. A foul, decaying odor permeated the entire house. Bears hibernate in winter when food is scarce. Bears hibernate in the winter when food is limited. Foreign companies must localize to survive. Foreign companies must adapt to local markets in order to survive. Ducks plunged into the water to catch their food. Ducks dove into the water to catch their food. I bought a map for my geography class. I purchased a map for my geography class. He still had an incredulous expression on his face regarding my proposal. He still had a disbelieving expression on his face regarding my proposal. Robin is now in a stable condition after the accident. Robin is now in stable health after the accident. His continued absences can no longer be acceptable. His repeated absences can no longer be tolerated. The police chased the thief running down the alley. The police pursued the thief as he ran down the alley. The reproductive organs of a dragonfly are located in its tail. The reproductive organs of a dragonfly are situated in its tail. I summarized one paragraph into one sentence. I condensed one paragraph into a single sentence. Medieval customs are still present in modern Europe. Medieval traditions are still prevalent in modern Europe. Jobs gained renown with the new product, the iPhone. Jobs gained fame with the launch of the new product, the iPhone. The boat began to violently rock due to the typhoon. The boat started to rock violently due to the typhoon. Germany formed an alliance with Japan during the World War. Germany forged an alliance with Japan during the World War. They disregarded the natives, considering them uncivilized. They disregarded the natives, viewing them as uncivilized. It was preferable to be correct rather than just doing it. It was better to be correct than simply doing it. A hero wishes to perpetuate his name. A hero desires to immortalize his name. NY is an abbreviation for New York. NY is an acronym for New York. He condensed the content of a book into one page as a condensation. He summarized the content of the book into one page as a condensation. Kizaru derided her in front of their friends. Kizaru mocked her in front of their friends. She wears a mechanical watch instead of a digital one. She wears an analog watch instead of a digital one. He had to crook his neck to pass through the door due to his height. He had to bend his neck to fit through the door because of his height. Cars must yield to pedestrians whenever possible. Vehicles must give way to pedestrians whenever possible. I planted a small tree on the boundary with my neighbors. I planted a small tree along the boundary with my neighbors. Minsu will substitute for me and do the cleaning. Minsu will take my place and handle the cleaning. She misspelled one letter in the English word. She made a typo in one letter of the English word. Her theory was convictive when you listened carefully. Her theory was convincing when you listened attentively. I went to the observatory to see the constellations. I visited the observatory to observe the constellations. At first he was thin, but after eating well, he started to stout. At first he was slim, but after eating properly, he began to gain weight. I didn't water the flowers for a while, and they withered. I neglected to water the flowers for some time, and they wilted. The sky is cloudy, so the likelihood of rain is high. The sky is overcast, so the chances of rain are high. Today was my parents' 30th anniversary. Today marked my parents' 30th anniversary. The enemy's remnants secretly infiltrated our village. The remnants of the enemy secretly infiltrated our village. This novel is based on historical facts. This novel is grounded in historical facts. It took me 10 minutes to finish the immigration procedure. I spent 10 minutes completing the immigration process. I waited on a salvage boat to rescue the stranded sailors. I waited on a rescue boat to save the stranded sailors. This detector alerts when there is a gas leakage. This detector sounds an alarm when there is a gas leak. My boss gave me the authority to use the company's funds. My boss granted me the authority to use the company's funds. Ignorance of the law doesn't mean you can be forgiven. Ignorance of the law does not excuse you from being forgiven. She was an obscure trot singer until recently. She was an unknown trot singer until recently. The candidate received enthusiastic support from voters. The candidate received passionate support from the voters. The principal told the students to comply with the rules. The principal instructed the students to follow the rules. It takes time for fermentation of kimchi and soybean paste. Fermentation of kimchi and soybean paste requires time. Site users' verification is done using a confirmation number. Site users are verified using a confirmation number. I have her in mind as my future spouse. I have her in mind as the person I want to marry in the future. The arrangement of the stars resembles the bear, so it's called the Big Dipper constellation. The arrangement of the stars resembles a bear, which is why it is called the Big Dipper constellation. The magician showed the children a marvelous show. The magician performed a marvelous show for the children. The students opened a flea market on Saturday. The students held a flea market on Saturday. It took the new employee time for adaptation to the company. The new employee needed time to adjust to the company. Everyone who attended the funeral quietly wept. Everyone who attended the funeral mourned quietly. Narcotics are all confiscated at airport customs. Narcotics are seized at airport customs. Arnold goes to chapel every Sunday to attend services. Arnold attends chapel every Sunday to participate in the services. This restaurant served food in an insanitary environment. This restaurant served food in an unsanitary environment. The PC operating system is practically monopolized by MS. The PC operating system is largely monopolized by Microsoft. My unnecessary interference aggravated their argument. My unnecessary interference worsened their argument. The fire caused poisonous smoke to rise. The fire caused toxic smoke to rise. He gave encouraging words to the student taking the exam. He offered encouraging words to the student taking the exam. The customer's anger flared due to the unpleasant response from the staff. The customer's anger erupted due to the unpleasant response from the staff. There are sizable people living in our city. There are many large communities living in our city. He has a predisposition to anger. He has a tendency toward anger. A crowd of onlookers gathered around the train accident site. A crowd of spectators gathered around the site of the train accident. The Roman Empire expanded its territory through war. The Roman Empire extended its territory through warfare. This winter has been exceptionally cold, resulting in higher heating costs. This winter has been unusually cold, leading to higher heating expenses. To lose weight, I reduced my food intake as much as possible. To lose weight, I minimized my food intake as much as possible. Proper exercise increases blood circulation. Proper exercise boosts blood circulation. The sightseeing schedule was so complicated that we bustled to make it work. The sightseeing schedule was so complex that we hurried to make it work. We struggled with thirst during our desert journey. We endured thirst during our desert journey. The prison secluded the death row inmates from the other prisoners. The prison isolated the death row inmates from the other prisoners. There is a belief that virtue will eventually defeat vice. There is a belief that virtue will ultimately triumph over vice. The police conducted a raid on the gambling den and arrested many people. The police carried out a raid on the gambling den and apprehended many people. His determination was implacable, so my opposition was useless. His determination was unwavering, so my opposition was futile. A compass was essential for navigation at sea. A compass was crucial for navigation at sea. The hunter missed the chance to hunt a large buck in the forest. The hunter missed the opportunity to hunt a large buck in the forest. The physician prescribed medicine for me after examining me. The doctor prescribed medication for me after examining me. The government conducts an annual census for statistical purposes. The government conducts an annual census for statistical purposes. The soldier chose a death more honorable than surrender. The soldier chose a death more honorable than capitulation. The window glass has great transparency, so everything is visible. The window glass has excellent transparency, making everything visible. The scholar is living on a pension after retiring. The scholar is subsisting on a pension after retiring. The defendant requested enough time to confer with his lawyer. The defendant requested adequate time to confer with his lawyer. She has the humility to lower herself when necessary. She has the humility to humble herself when needed. The children saw a ferocious lion at the zoo. The children saw a fierce lion at the zoo. The amendment to the higher education law has been postponed until next year. The amendment to the higher education law has been delayed until next year. Exercise consists of muscle contraction and relaxation. Exercise involves muscle contraction and relaxation. The bank robber threatened the bank employee and stole the money. The bank robber threatened the bank employee and stole the money. In high mountains, climatic changes occur frequently. In high altitude areas, climatic changes occur frequently. Employees tend to gravitate toward companies with higher salaries. Employees are inclined to gravitate toward companies offering higher salaries. Her argument is based on fallacious information. Her argument is founded on incorrect information. The students caused a big clamor during break time. The students created a loud clamor during break time. The prison guards supervised the inmates in the prison. The prison guards oversaw the inmates in the prison. The rocks near the river were covered with green moss. The rocks near the river were blanketed with green moss. She was in a very energetic state after taking a break. She was in a very energetic state after taking a break. He died from suffocation in a confined space. He died from suffocation in a confined area. I was completely perplexed by her strange answer. I was utterly confused by her strange answer. I was bitten by a snake and urgently needed an antidote. I was bitten by a snake and urgently required an antidote. He was so full that he had to loosen his belt. He was so full that he had to loosen his belt. The government formed a task force to help the displaced people. The government established a task force to assist displaced people. She earned a lot of money by running a thriving restaurant. She made a significant amount of money by running a successful restaurant. He is in a state of outrage over the fact that I lied. He is outraged by the fact that I lied. Mathematics is a required subject, not an optional one in the exam. Mathematics is a compulsory subject, not an elective one, in the exam. I started to dislike her for an apparent reason. I started to dislike her for an obvious reason. The clerk greeted the customers with a courteous attitude. The clerk greeted the customers with a polite attitude. My necklace has an intricate design. My necklace has a complex design. After taking the photography course, he became good at taking pictures. After taking the photography course, he became skilled at taking pictures. Carnivores are mammals that eat meat. Carnivores are animals that consume meat. To improve in English, you need to familiarize yourself with the pronunciation. To improve in English, you need to become familiar with pronunciation. He built a cabin in the mountains and enjoys aloneness. He built a cabin in the mountains and enjoys solitude. The proposal passed in the meeting with the assent of the participants. The proposal was approved in the meeting with the consent of the participants. Our shopping mall follows the principle of same-day delivery. Our shopping mall adheres to the principle of same-day delivery. They can reverse the order of the presentation after discussion. They can alter the order of the presentation after discussion. The audience converged at the stadium to watch the soccer match. The audience gathered at the stadium to watch the soccer match. When dancing, make sure not to tread on your partner's feet. When dancing, make sure not to step on your partner's feet. Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table are deeply connected to chivalry. Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table are closely linked to chivalry. The photo is blurry, so I cannot identify her. The photo is unclear, so I cannot recognize her. Vitamin C increases the absorption of iron in the body. Vitamin C enhances the absorption of iron in the body. He was sentenced to 5 years for assault against his neighbor. He was sentenced to 5 years for assaulting his neighbor. She often says divisive things among her friends. She often says divisive things among her friends. There was a luncheon with the president and party leaders at the Blue House. There was a luncheon with the president and party leaders at the Blue House. Smoking in public places is prohibited under the Prohibition Law. Smoking in public places is banned by the Prohibition Law. His attitude is completely honest, with no affectation. His attitude is entirely sincere, with no pretense. Batman wandered the streets to prevent crime. Batman patrolled the streets to prevent crime. Excessive drinking accelerates the aging process. Excessive drinking speeds up the aging process. The U.S. police always patrol the interstate highways. The U.S. police regularly patrol the interstate highways. The labor and management teams created a tentative agreement through negotiations. The labor and management teams reached a provisional agreement through negotiations. The older brother daunted the younger brother, causing him to cry heavily. The older brother intimidated the younger brother, causing him to cry. The candidate informed the constituents about his campaign promises. The candidate updated the constituents about his campaign promises. He won the gold medal and smiled with contentment. He won the gold medal and smiled with satisfaction. The opponent was 20 years old, whereas he was only 14 years old. The opponent was 20 years old, while he was only 14. The court fell into turmoil due to the witness's new revelations. The court was thrown into chaos due to the witness's new revelations. We fought yesterday and we barely spoke to each other. We fought yesterday and we hardly spoke to each other. Iron Man is a representative figure in the Avengers. Iron Man is a central figure in the Avengers. The politician is unable to go outside due to house confinement. The politician is confined to his house due to house arrest. This World Cup will be televised worldwide. This World Cup will be broadcast globally. The explanation for the delay was insufficient. The explanation for the delay was inadequate. The parents are also responsible for the student's misdeed. The parents share responsibility for the student's misdeed. I couldn't forbear laughing at his joke. I couldn't help laughing at his joke. She was bewildered by my sharp questions. She was confused by my sharp questions. The detective solved the murder mystery by plumbing the details. The detective solved the murder mystery by delving into the details. A thick layer of sediment formed at the bottom of the river. A thick layer of sediment accumulated at the bottom of the river. The children in front of me were restless throughout the concert. The children in front of me were fidgeting throughout the concert. She gradually regained her health with the lapse of time. She slowly regained her health with the passing of time. The villain extorted money from a citizen on the street. The villain extorted money from a passerby on the street. I tried to slow down the progression of progressive cancer. I tried to slow the progression of the advanced cancer. He was exempted from military service due to visual impairment. He was exempt from military service due to his visual impairment. She was so exhausted that she was sprawled on the floor. She was so exhausted that she collapsed on the floor. I went to the post office to send a package to my friend. I visited the post office to dispatch a parcel to my friend. He was regretful about getting so angry. He felt remorseful for becoming so enraged. The skin can burn if it is too exposed to sunlight. The skin can burn if it is overly exposed to sunlight. The people in the basement were suffocated by the smoke from the fire. The people in the basement were asphyxiated by the smoke from the fire. The human body starts to decompose from the moment of death. The human body begins to decompose from the instant of death. Sparrows were chirping on the branches of the tree. Sparrows were twittering on the tree branches. The judge read the judgment in a monotone voice. The judge delivered the verdict in a flat, monotonous tone. The closest planet to the sun is Mercury. The nearest planet to the sun is Mercury. The success of the children gratified their parents. The children's success delighted their parents. I went to the gang to avenge my friend's death. I visited the gang to seek retribution for my friend's death. Due to poor driving skills, the car collided with a pillar in the parking lot. Due to inadequate driving skills, the car struck a pillar in the parking lot. After the meeting, we made a decision by ballot for confidentiality. After the meeting, we reached a decision by vote for confidentiality. The Queen conversed with the citizens with elegance. The Queen conversed with the citizens with grace and dignity. In exercise, moderation is really important rather than excess. In exercise, moderation is essential rather than indulgence. The celebrities' dresses on the red carpet were the epitome of splendor. The celebrities' gowns on the red carpet were the embodiment of magnificence. The attainment of his goals is still a long way off. The realization of his goals is still a distant prospect. The king pondered deeply to make a sage decision for the people. The king contemplated carefully to make a wise decision for his people. Her eyes started to blur with the tears that poured down. Her vision began to blur with the tears that cascaded down her cheeks. He consulted the pastor on theological issues. He sought counsel from the pastor on theological matters. The expert of authentic antiques authenticated my pottery. The specialist in authentic antiques verified the authenticity of my pottery. In ancient folk beliefs, animals were revered as gods. In ancient folklore, animals were venerated as deities. Gasoline has a hazard of explosion, so it should be handled with care. Gasoline presents an explosion hazard, so it must be handled cautiously. Jane designed various dresses at an apparel company. Jane designed a variety of dresses at an apparel company. In the tribal council, a new chief was elected. A new chief was elected in the tribal council. The guards patrolled the prison day and night. The guards patrolled the prison both day and night. The movie is about an invasion of Earth by aliens. The movie is about an extraterrestrial invasion of Earth. Luffy has many credible allies. Luffy has numerous trustworthy allies. The fire was caused by a faulty electrical wiring. The fire was triggered by a malfunctioning electrical wiring. Rewarding well-performed individuals provides impetus for further efforts. Rewarding well-performed individuals provides motivation for continued efforts. London is one of the world's great cosmopolises. London is one of the world's great cosmopolitan cities. She was so startled by seeing a ghost that she was incapable of speaking. She was so shocked by seeing a ghost that she was rendered speechless. The couple eventually divorced due to continued discord. The couple eventually separated due to ongoing discord. The government forces launched an operation to capture the fleeing rebels. The government forces initiated an operation to capture the fleeing rebels. Utmost concentration is required to solve this problem. The utmost focus is required to solve this problem. I couldn't play the piano due to spatial constraints. I couldn't play the piano due to spatial limitations. The soldiers locked the captive enemies in a cage. The soldiers confined the captured enemies in a cage. A horrid monster with 3 heads destroyed the village. A dreadful monster with 3 heads ravaged the village. Robin is shrewd at understanding the opponent's personality. Robin is astute at discerning the opponent's personality. I was overwhelmed by the magnificence of Mount Baekdu's scenery. I was awestruck by the grandeur of Mount Baekdu's scenery. When using a computer, you should frequently save your work. When using a computer, you should regularly save your progress.